right, let's get started. Welcome to our February 13th study session. Roll call, please.
The record will show that all members are present.
Very good, thank you. Any clarification of items on the consent calendar? Councilwoman Gardner.
No.
Councilwoman Daigle?
Yes, several. On number 4, where it's talking about the dog barking and how we're going to redefine pitch and frequency, what is it that we're trying to respond here by changing this ordinance?
I think what we're trying to respond to is becoming more definitive in terms of being able to write citations that will stand up in court.
Okay. And then on number 14, it talks about the CERT program and a grant, and what I was noticing through other correspondence is that the Community Preparedness Coordinator is now doing CERT, and when then Mayor Heffernan and I pushed to create the community preparedness position, it was so that, you know, they'd be going out to Rotary clubs and this kind of a thing to give, you know, maybe not 1-hour presentation. It wasn't to increase CERT. So who is now doing that function that the position was created for?
I think Chief Lewis can respond to that. Of course, we only run 1 to 2 CERT classes a year, and they are very limited duration.
Correct. Mayor, Council, Matt Brisboe is our community emergency response team coordinator, but he also goes out to all the HOAs. He speaks to the Rotary clubs. Some of those presentations are an hour, some are 2 hours, and he also does the CERT presentations, which he does 2 to 3 a year. They're a larger program. They're an 6 to 7 week program, and they're on consecutive weekends. He does any other presentations that have to do with anything with the emergency response that anybody asks for, but most times it's the homeowners associations.
Okay. Now, in terms of the person that was doing CERT, what are they now doing?
Before me, I don't know what the kind of the hierarchy was. Matt, it was actually Jen Schultz moved over to become our public information officer, and she now takes the responsibility for community education. All the responsibilities going to the schools, and along with public information officer for us, the fire department.
Okay.
But Chief, aren't there a number of people that actually run the CERT, not run the CERT program, but train in the CERT program in terms of some of the classes?
Well, he has volunteers that assist him in doing a lot of those classes that he does, and but at present he oversees the direction that entire team takes. But most of those are citizens in the community that he uses.
Okay. My concern is that we created the community preparedness to do community preparedness, and then they're now doing CERT. So if CERT's doing something else, that's not what we had created the position for.
Okay, I think when you talk in terms of Katie Freeman does the disaster preparedness, so now she's looking in terms of what we do here within the city, our emergency operating center, and how we function on any disaster. There's that portion of it, and then Matt takes care of the community aspect, which is the community at large, what happens with a disaster, and their preparedness themselves to take care of that.
Okay, so she's kind of filling in then to do some of that other disaster preparedness.
She handles all of our grants. Okay. Handles all of the things that we're doing, such as the tsunami, earthquake preparedness. And so there is they do assist each other. Their lines do cross a little bit, and they do assist each other. But they're pretty well, their responsibilities are pretty well defined. But as you can see, we talk about community responses and community preparedness, and then you start talking about CERT, they are interrelated to some degree.
Okay, so we are getting out there in the community, the Rotary clubs.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
They're packed up as far as scheduling.
Councilmember Webb?
I have none.
Councilmember Henn?
None.
Councilmember Curry?
None. I am going to ask that we pull 7 and 8 for us to talk about them. Clearly, they're issues that I'm strongly supportive of, just to focus the public's attention on what we're doing in those items.
Mayor Pro Tem Selich?
Yes, on S21, what's the condition of the ramp going down to China Cove? Is it going to be able to handle all these trucks, and do we have adequate provisions in here to get it restored if there's damage as a result of this?
I have spoken to Tom Rossmiller about it, and he has assured me that they are going to be photographing the road beforehand, and that the agreement includes any repairs that need to be made.
Okay, and then, I don't know if I have to pull this off the agenda to do this or not, but I'd like to make the suggestion that under scope of services number 7, that rather than having the idling time not to exceed 2 to 3 minutes, that they be required to shut the engines off. Is that something that can be done without pulling it? Do I have to pull it?
Is that agenda item number?
S21?
21, it's a supplemental agenda item.
You know, it seems to me like that needs to be done in a council
Yeah,
meeting.
why don't we just
Okay.
call that up and you can...
Okay, well, I'll just
take care
plan
of
on
that at
pulling
the
this
time.
item off then.
Okay. And I have none, thank you. Why don't we proceed with our program? Item number 2, insurance renewals. We have a presentation.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. We're here today to talk about our insurance renewals. This is our excess liability, our excess workers' comp, and all of our property insurance. All of you have met Mark Zahorian. He's here to talk to you today. I believe he was here about 3 months ago and talked to most of you about what to expect with our renewals. Our renewal date is March 1st, and so we have 2 weeks left. I think there's still a few things he's negotiating on, but I think he has a little bit more information to give you today. Lauren Farley's also here to answer any questions. She's been working closely with Mark on getting all the information together. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Mark to give you a brief presentation on our renewals that are coming up. We'll be bringing these to you in 2 weeks to council for a vote.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. As a reminder, I'm with Brown & Brown, and Brown & Brown's a public company that's been around over 67 years. We've been servicing the needs of the city on insurance for 17 years. We're the 6th largest independent broker in the U.S., and we have approximately 150 profit centers or offices in 35 states. An overview of the process is we start the accumulation of the updated statistical underwriting information in November, basically start the process of going to the markets in December, and I have bi-monthly review of the market status with city staff. So nothing that I really go over in the renewal is ever a surprise to this city. Week of February 12th, we have final carrier negotiations. Basically, I have indications which I'll go over with you, tell you what my expectations are, but we finalize everything this week. And our recommendations to the staff will be done by Friday. The anticipated 2007 renewal on the excess public liability are originally expected a 10% reduction. New indications as of today, I anticipate getting that down to 15 to 20%. That'd be a reduction in range of between $120,000 to $159,000, $160,000. In the excess workers' compensation insurance, we're basically expecting a flat to a 10% decrease in rate. And on the property insurance I really have divided into 2 areas. What I call the master property policy, excluding piers and without coverage for earthquake and flood, we're expecting that final premium to be 10 to 15%, which would calculate dollar-wise $10,000 to $15,000. On the DIC, which is your biggest single expense under the property insurance, and our most difficult item for this renewal, we expected a 100% increase that I communicated in the October study session. Our options, I was going to also look at decreasing the total insured values by $10 million. And by doing that, we only received indications to save about $7,400. So we're not going to recommend that. And the main reason for that is Most of what we recommended taking off were like restrooms at parks, items that were under $75,000 in value. So the probable maximum loss that the insurance companies use in calculating the premium determined it would not save us anything, basically, by taking it off. So up until today, we were expecting 45 to 60%, and that first developed in meetings in January and February. And then based on my final indications today and what my recommendation will be in this one area will be a 41% increase in premium, but it includes a 13% increase in overall insurable values. So the bottom line under the earthquake, I really exceeded my own expectations this year on that coverage and feel very comfortable with those premiums. As far as all other coverages expected, which amounts to the watercraft fiduciary liability, we're expecting flat to 10%, and on my way over here today, it's coming in at about a 4 or 5% decrease. In summary, I expect our total annual premium this year to be no greater than about 2% of what was paid on an annual basis in 2006. Are there any questions?
You mean 2% greater than what we played last year?
Yes.
What do you, just quickly, what do you attribute the reductions to? I mean, it seems like some of them are fairly significant.
Well, under the liability, under the excess liability, although normally every year we go out to market, we're in a very positive situation with AIG, who, to make a long story short, AIG had an underwriting arm called CV Star. They sold that underwriting arm. They originally did the underwriting of your account, and CV Star is now owned by another company that uses Everest Insurance Company paper. And basically, those two companies wanted to write and retain the business. And because of that, we had a decrease that was greater than what was expected. As far as the...
But it's just, they want to retain our business, or market conditions
The
in
market
general,
conditions, what the market would bear on your account at your size retention and at your premium level, market to bear would be between 10 and maybe right now to 15%. We're taking advantage of a positive situation between two underwriters who want to retain the business.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, can I get you to talk just a few minutes about fiduciary liability? We have some new council people here, and maybe it would be good to just talk about what
Sure.
that covers.
Fiduciary liability is intended to cover the city's fiduciary responsibility to its employees on employee benefit plans and also retirement plans. And so this policy basically covers funds in the event that they're not there under certain circumstances covered under the policy. To give you a complete definition of everything that would be covered, but fiduciary responsibility is really intended to cover the financial fiduciary of everybody who makes decisions on employee benefit plans.
Mark, would it also be fair to say that our good premium experience, relatively good premium experience here, has a lot to do with the very excellent loss experience that we have under our policies? We have, according to the information we saw the other day, very low loss histories here.
Absolutely. The loss experience has been very, very positive, and that's helped. And also the loss control and direct communications on the loss control by risk management to the carriers has helped also in that area.
And then one last question. We've talked about premium costs and deductibles and whatnot, but have there been any significant changes in the coverages under the policies that come to mind?
No.
Additions or deletions of coverage?
No, the only item that may change, and it's a positive change, is under the liability. Right now, you have $500,000 self-insured retention, which is much like a deductible on all areas of your public liability with the exception of employment practices liability. It's at $1 million. I'm trying, because of the soft market, to reduce that a little bit, but with the carrier who's coming in with the best premium, I don't think we're going to be successful. That's the only change, and it's a positive one if that takes place.
And Mark, I think it's a 13% increase in total insured value, so that's the Mariners Library and added facilities, maybe playgrounds.
Not just added. What we did, we had a final tranche of what I call appraisals done on the properties that were not appraised recently. And those values, a large percentage of that 13% was due to those new appraisals.
Councilman Curry?
Maybe this is a question for either Homer or Barbara. How does the expected premium here compare to what we budgeted when we adopted the budget last June?
Excuse me?
We, council members and mayor, we budgeted about a 10% increase in our insurance fund reserve budget for potential increases in the premium. So if our overall increase is maybe 2%, we budgeted on each line item about 10%. So we've covered our.
Any other questions? I'll open it up to the public then. Seeing nobody, thank you for the report. Let's move on to item number 3, presentation regarding the role of the Newport Beach Library Literacy Program in our community. Hi, Linda.
Good evening, Mayor Rosansky, council members. It gives me great pleasure tonight to introduce a secret service of the library. The reason it's secret is very few people in the community really realize that the library has a literacy program. The other reason it is a secret is that many people, many adults who have trouble with literacy, and there are many, prefer to keep it secret and live a very complex life because they don't have the skills. We are able to give a program through the library that is partially funded by the state, a tiny bit funded by us, and a whole lot funded by donations. And right now I'd like to introduce to you Cheryl Weiss, the literacy coordinator, and Carolyn Schur, the president of the Literacy Board. And they're going to give you a brief education about our literacy program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor and council members. We're very pleased to be here. I'm Carolyn Scheer, and I have been now for almost 14 months chair of the Literacy Advisory Board in the program. And to my right, doing the important computer things, is Cheryl Weiss, who's been with us for 11 months as our literacy coordinator. I would like to thank Linda Katsoulos and Melissa for all of the help that they've given us in terms of supporting the literacy program. We've made a lot of progress in the last year in terms of the services we've offered and the people in the community we've reached, and you will be telling you some of that as soon as we start up. And Cheryl and I are going to be doing a little bit of team tagging here as we go through our PowerPoint presentation. All set? Great. So good. Is the projector's not on?
No, it's
The overhead.
Oh. That thing. Oh, thank you. Yes.
Send an engineer for that job.
Oh, there's a blue button right in the top of the screen.
I'm old enough to have used a lot of those in the past.
Okay, and now this one's...
Were you the AV monitor in public school?
There we go. We're in the definition. Okay, so we get back to where we want to start. And the welcome page, we just got up. Okay, here we are in literacy services. I think I've done our introduction for you. I've covered the introduction, so Cheryl will take the next 2 slides.
Good afternoon, everybody. Literacy, what is it? The definition has been changing through the ages, and as you can see from the slide, in the 1800s, literacy was defined. A person was considered literate if they were able to sign their name. In the 1940s, the definition of literacy or a literate person was that they had a 4th grade education. A little bit later on, 20 years later, literacy was defined as an 8th grade education. As of 10 years ago, the National Literacy Act defined literacy as an individual's ability to read, write, and speak in English, compute and solve problems necessary to function on the job and in society, to achieve one's goals, and develop one's knowledge and potential. Obviously, today, this even comes short because it doesn't include the technological advances that have been made and the technological necessities that people need to function in our society.
I guess that makes me illiterate.
So Shirley, are you saying, people who don't
By that definition.
speak English fall under the
Absolutely.
illiterate?
Absolutely. And when you look at the numbers, you and everybody else, I'm afraid. The latest studies indicate that there are 44 million adults in the United States that fall in low or inadequate literacy status. California, it's 10.5 million, and going down the list, even in Newport Beach, where everybody asks me, why is there a literacy program in Newport Beach, over 7,000 of our neighbors are considered illiterate or have low literacy skills. These are people that, at the worst state, cannot write a letter or cannot even address an envelope.
Is there an age level that you start measuring these capabilities, or do we count in all the babies?
No, these statistics are for adults only, I'm sorry.
That's,
Our program,
those over 21?
18.
Or 18.
18.
And how do you gather those statistics to get to that number?
The National Institute for Literacy actually did a survey, and it was I think it's something about 20,000 response survey. From that, they statistically made the decisions, and the Southern California Literacy Network came up with the local 400,000 figure and 7,000, and that's based on economics and ethnicities.
Okay, following up on the statistics, our mission is to improve the literacy skills of adults to enable them to achieve greater successes in their lives at home, at work, and in their community. It's important for people, when they come into the literacy program, to have their own goals of what they want to achieve in the literacy program. These are goals that might be goals that happen in their homes. It might be reading notes teachers send home from school with children. It might be looking at doses of medicine bottles. Obviously, we understand how important literacy is at work. And also in the community, can people, when people are driving down the street, can they read the stops? Can they read the traffic signs so they know that we're going? When they vote, are they able to make informed decisions when they vote by being able to read the material that comes out for them to vote with? We have a literacy advisory board for the literacy program, and we list the officers for the board and our members at large. Everyone serves a staggered three-year term on the literacy board. People are eligible for reappointment. Melissa Kelly, who is the administrative services librarian in the library, serves as our liaison and our ex officio member of the board, so that we do have a relationship between the library and the literacy advisory board, and we meet every other month.
We hold tutor trainings quarterly, and these tutors are very dedicated people from our community. Our last class graduated on January 31st, and this is a picture of them. They have just spent 14 hours, 2 hours of orientation and 12 hours of training in order to become a tutor, and they've committed for at least 1 year working with the adult learner in the community for at least 1 hour a week.
We offer a variety of the programs. In the program, our core program is one-on-one free tutoring, that once a tutor completes his or her training, he or she is assigned to an adult learner and works with the adult learner to establish goals, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then they're off and running with the tutor, designing individual lesson plans for the learner for what their usual weekly meetings, and weekly meetings go for an hour to an hour and a half. We have book clubs for our learners. We have a morning book club that's been going on for some time. That's weekly. We've just added a twice monthly evening book club. People here are reading full textbooks. We usually are also using books on tape so that people can hear the book being read in standard English. And in the cases where they're available, we also have movies or videos of books, too. We have a conversation class, which is now our most popular class. This meets biweekly in the evening, and is now our most popular class, and it's always a scramble to find a place for them to meet. We've had a writing class in the fall, and we hope to be starting up again in March. We have a weekly pronunciation class that meets in the daytime. Once a month, we have a Family for Literacies program that is funded by the State Library Literacy Services, where parents in the program who have preschool children come in for several hours of activities, books, parenting tips, and we always send them home with books for the children. And we also have adult learner and tutor support groups. The new developments that we have is that we're working on a joint venture with the Children's Literacy Department to promote early literacy. We celebrate International Literacy Day, which is a United Nations holiday that was set up in September. Last year we hooked our first Literacy Day celebration with our first Rochelle Hoffman Memorial Award. Rochelle Hoffman was a tutor who passed away. Her family and friends raised money for a scholarship to honor a tutor who has made the most accomplished learner who's made the most accomplishment in reaching his or her goals. So we had our first one in September, which was a lot of fun. There's a picture coming up. We now are publishing our newsletter quarterly, and we were able to work to develop a website which went live in November, which is really, really a great website, and I think that's discussed in the brochure. That will be probably in our literary speaking newsletter. We'll talk about our website and where it's at. One of the things we want to do is to develop relationships and visibility within the community. Cheryl has been working with the Newport Mesa Unified School District to let them know about us so they can tell parents, so if they find parents that they feel could use our services, they can be referred to us. We've also given a presentation in front of the Senior Center in a hope to attract more tutors to the program. And here is our picture of International Literacy Day. We have on the left Horacio Cortes, who is the first recipient of the award, and on his right is the local staff member from Representative Campbell's office who gave Horacio a citation. And I think Horacio's grin says it all.
As Carolyn mentioned earlier, we provide many services in our department. As you can see from this slide, we provide one-on-one tutoring for anybody in the community who needs help with English. Many of our learners are foreign-born and have been in the country for 20, 30, 40 years and are afraid to or concerned about going to a grocery store and asking for a product. Others of our learners are born, raised in the area or in the United States and slipped through the system and have waited until they're adults, 40, 50, 60 years old in some cases, to seek help. We offer small group classes and workshops to support them in any of their goals. Every year, we see over 120 adults seeking help. We work in our families program with over 50 families a year. And now with the collaboration with the Children's Department of the library, we'll be seeing more. We do quarterly programs called Every Child Ready to Read to address early literacy issues with families in the area, and that's drawing maybe 20 people for each of the 3 sessions quarterly. Just as a aha, in the first 6 months of fiscal year 2007, we've had over 3,000 volunteer hours logged. Our learners have logged over 1,700 learning hours with their tutor, and that's just in the first 6 months of the year. As I mentioned earlier, our learners are diverse. The age range currently is someplace between 25 and 72. The common goal, or the common trait for each of them, is that they have desire to get ahead. They have a desire to move forward. And I won't read this, but if you'd like to take a second to read about Clara, her name has been changed to protect the innocent. But this is a woman who walked into our office maybe 7 months ago, directly from receiving her performance review at her medical office she was working at, and feeling at that point hopeless that she was going to make it anywhere. After 6 months with a tutor, Clara's feeling a lot better about herself, and in fact is doing much better at the office and is seeing some hope in moving forward in her career.
Okay, our learners, as I said, set goals for the year, and these are some of the goals that our learners have set. To read a book, magazine, or newspaper for the first time, to get their first library card, which means that they can take out books not only for themselves but also for their children. Order from a restaurant menu without assistance. If you've ever been traveling overseas or in Mexico, you know that, at least I know that, I sort of know the menus, but I always feel much better when I can fall back on an English menu or have a food dictionary with me. Otherwise, you know, particularly for someone like me who doesn't like eggs, I don't want to think I'm ordering a hamburger and end up with a fried egg sandwich. That would be awful. Other goals include becoming a U.S. citizen, taking the necessary tests to do that, obtain a California's driver's license, so to be able to read well enough to obtain the driver's license. What is still needed? As we've referenced earlier, community awareness is an issue for us. Linda started by saying we're the best hidden secret in the city. In a lot of ways, I think that that's true. We would like to have more people aware of the program. In particular, we would like to have more people volunteer as tutors. We always have a waiting list at any one time of 20 to 30 people who are learners who are waiting for tutors to be assigned for them. We would like increased support from the community in terms of financial support so that we can do advertising to maintain advertising to attract tutors, which we started this time to advertise in the pilot to try to let people know about us so they can come. Also to help us print promotional materials so we can get out to area businesses and agencies to learn about us. We would also need new learning resources. Materials go out of date. The library recently helped us get new Windows operating computers in our office. All of our literacy software was on a DOS platform, so that means that all of our software is obsolete. Happily now, a lot of things are available on the web, but that's one of the things we do have a grant to help us address, but new materials are always needed. Classroom space. The literacy office in the library, if you're going toward the administrative office in the library, we have a small complex on the right. We have a table that seats 6 or 8 people, and we have 14 people come for a conversation class. It gets a little crowded in there. It's very exciting, but it is crowded. And as I said earlier, volunteer tutors are the key to the success of our program. We're training 12 or 13 people quarterly. I think we could handle the class with about 20 people in them, and we can certainly up the frequency of the training if we have more tutors, but we really would love to have some.
We all love doing what we do, but it takes money. And currently our budget is a whopping $80,000. About $32,000 of this comes from the California library system. They have a budget to provide literacy services throughout the library, and that is a formulaic number that's based on A, our programs that we're offering, B, the amount of people that we see through the year, and C, community support. The city has been gracious enough to give us some money every year, about $13,000. The rest is basically through grants and fundraising from the community. And unfortunately, this year we lost 2 of our funding sources because they were community organizations that we had a liaison for that's no longer around. So those 2 sources have not been responsive to us because we now lack that introduction, if you will. So we do have to raise about $9,000 extra dollars somehow. And that's us.
And that's it. So thank you very much, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question, and that is, do most of your students then come from Newport Beach?
They either live or work in Newport Beach. Some, there is some crossover from Costa Mesa or from Irvine, but the majority of people are from Newport Beach, yes.
Okay, so is that a requirement to
Live or
to
work
enter
in-
the program, live or work?
Live or work in Newport Beach, yes.
Very good. Anybody else? Thank you, ladies.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, public comments are time of the meeting. Anybody from the public would like to make a public comment on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, we will adjourn to closed session.